Hi, my name is Nicole. Welcome to my channel, Travel to Money. In this video, I'm going to tell you about some of the most stressful moments I've had hosting an Airbnb. I've had a few crazy experiences hosting a single bedroom in my home, my entire house, and in my current accessory dwelling unit. The latest story just happened recently, and it's a doozy involving an Airbnb guest and an active investigation with the police, which is why I decided to make this video. You'll want to stick around for that story. If you are new here, I have created this channel to help you learn about how to travel, adventure, and have fun on the road to financial independence. I have traveled the world, I own a couple of houses in Spain, and I'm on a creative journey to financial independence. I believe the road to financial freedom can and should be fun. I would love for you to subscribe and join me on this journey, no matter where you are starting from. Just so you know, I am not making this video to scare you away from Airbnb hosting. I am currently an Airbnb host, and if you've watched my videos from the very beginning, you'll know that it was Airbnb that really changed my life, allowing me to be able to afford world travel in two different ways, by renting out my entire house for a profit and also giving me affordable options for long-term stays. Anyway, I'm a big fan of what it can do for you financially, but that doesn't mean it doesn't come without the occasional guest who will make you want to quit. But hold your head up, most of your guests will be great. Let me tell you about a few of the ones for me who weren't so awesome. When I first started renting out a bedroom in my house, I had a few interesting situations. There was one time when a gentleman from Canada booked the room for 5 weeks just for himself. He was pretty low maintenance, but then at the last minute showed up with his wife for the first 2 days. She stormed into the house, gave my roommate a hard time, started making outlandish demands, and then said that there was no way her husband could stay there. I got called home from celebrating my birthday to deal with them. She went on and on to me about how much bigger and better her house in Canada was than mine. It was so awkward. But when you're an Airbnb host and you manage it yourself, you have to be ready at a moment's notice to drop what you're doing and offer stellar customer service. When I started renting out the entire house, there was one occasion where I was out of town. The guests showed up, pulled every couch cushion off the couches, the sheets had been pulled from the beds, and the mattresses were off of the box springs leaning on the walls. My property manager showed up to give them wine. They opened and drank the bottle of wine and informed my friend that they had found a small shell of a bug between a mattress and a box spring, and because of this, they didn't want to stay in the house. This was a $900 booking for me. The house is thoroughly cleaned, and it felt like they had already decided before they arrived that they didn't want to stay there. And $900 is a lot of money, but it's not worth having a review on my account that is telling people I have bugs in the house. So they drank my wine, turned my house upside down, cost me a week of bookings, and all for a tiny shell that I wouldn't be surprised if they put there. It was ridiculous, but whatever. You live and you learn, or you live and you have pain in the butt guess. So now I'm going to tell you about some recent events. Over the last 6 months, my roommate and I have listed an apartment that is attached to our house, so it's kind of in between the previous situations. No one stays in the house with us, but we do often meet them or see them coming and going from the apartment. Because of the view from our house, you can see them walking to their entrance. I've noticed that renting a one-bedroom entire space seems to bring a lot more questionable activity. You don't really have that when you're renting out a bedroom within your house, and I didn't really have that problem when I rented out a three-bedroom house. But with a one-bedroom, I guess it's more likely to attract things like prostitution. I'm not 100% certain, but there have been a couple of situations where a woman has booked the place and seems to have clientele rather than people who are obviously with them. They will set up the apartment a certain way. There will be body oil on the bed and the smell of marijuana the following day. We have updated our listing to specifically show that we charge a minimum of a $100 fee for any smoking in the house. The thing is, they don't always leave it a mess or anything, and you definitely don't want to be wrong if you're accusing people of prostitution. The other thing I get a lot of are young couples. In most cases, this has been wonderful, but on a couple of occasions, you can really tell the lack of experience and maturity. One time I had a couple stay for just one night. The apartment was disgusting when we went in to clean the next day. There was urine all over the side of the toilet, and there was an unbelievable amount of hair. And we always find hair all over the house, but this was unreal. Even a couple of days after we cleaned it, we randomly found a whole wad of hair in one of our plants. They also stained the couch and some of our towels and left the kitchen a mess. Let me just say, for all the people out there that think something along the lines of, I paid a cleaning fee, so I should be able to leave the house a mess if I want, I want you to just do the math for a second. For example, on our one bedroom, for a 1 or 2 night stay, we only charge a $25 cleaning fee. Even if the house is left in perfect shape, it still takes two of us over an hour to clean it. So, no, it should not ever include the cleaning of an unnecessary mess. Speaking of cleaning up a place, we certainly don't hold it against anyone if they leave a few dishes or towels on the floor. We expect that, but you can really tell the level of respect that people have for you as humans by the way they leave an Airbnb. Some guests keep their trash consolidated to one trash can, while other guests leave trash all over the apartment. Some guests will do their own dishes, where other guests will steal your dishes. We've had many guests leave the place looking as if no one had even been there, while others do things like draw smiley faces on your living room mirrors with their dirty finger. You will have some of both kinds of guests and plenty in between. Okay, now let's get to the juicy story. Recently, I had a rare occasion where it was a Sunday morning and I had no bookings for the next 4 nights. I decided to offer a promotion through Airbnb at a 28% discount. Word to the wise, I am myself a discount hunter, always looking for a deal, but I'll say this. A good amount of the time that I host people who book with a discount, I get high maintenance guests who don't leave perfect reviews, or I get people who don't care well for my space. I'm just saying, I still use the discount feature when I don't have any bookings, but sometimes I kick myself for doing that. Anyway, when I offered this discount, I didn't know what I was getting into. About 15 minutes later, the house booked for all 4 nights. I was like, wow, that's incredible. Once someone books, Airbnb shows you their photo if they have one. I don't think about that too much, but I noticed this was an older woman, probably in her 60s, and she's from a Florida town not more than a couple of hours away from us. Since it was already the day of check-in, I immediately messaged her with the check-in details, which mentioned that check-in is at 3 p.m. She wrote back rather quickly and asked if earlier check-in might be available. I let her know we would work to get it ready for her by 2 p.m. When I'm in my living room, I can see when guests come and go. I don't generally care, but I can't help but take notice. 2 p.m. went by, 3 p.m. went by, and no one showed up, which I found strange since she had specifically asked for an early check-in just a few hours before. At around 4 p.m., an Uber driver pulls into my driveway and a young man gets out of the car. I would guess about mid to late 20s. In general, I wouldn't think much of that, but in this case, it just seemed weird that he would be with the woman in the photo. My listing is just a 1 bedroom with a queen bed and two small couches, so it's usually only booked by single people or couples. And no judgment from me if the woman is a cougar, but this was just a scenario where something seemed off. Also, he didn't have any luggage or even a backpack. He was carrying a pink gift bag in one hand and a red tote bag on his other shoulder. My roommate decided to be a little ballsy and she walked to the front door of the apartment with a watering can for the flowers outside and knocked on the door. He answered the door but only opened it enough to stick his face through the crack. She said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I thought an older woman had booked the house." He responded that she is his mother and that she would arrive shortly. My roommate could smell weed, which is not allowed in our listings. So, no judgment, but we feel it's kind of going downhill at this point. So I call Airbnb, and all she told me to do was wait 24 hours to see if the woman showed up. Then, a few minutes later, another car pulls into our driveway. It's a newer, small SUV, and a young woman gets out who is also in her mid to late 20s, but my listing is for two people, and now I have two people in the house that are not the person on the booking. I call Airbnb again. They asked if I had called the guest, and I let them know that I did and that she didn't answer. The woman on the line told me she would call the guest and that a guest is much more likely to answer when Airbnb calls them. She let me know she would get back to me. I asked my roommate to go take pictures of the license plate of the woman's car. Unfortunately, it was a temporary paper plate, even more suspect. So my roommate got a picture of the VIN number through the windshield. Brilliant. We just wanted something that could link us back to the people inside in case something shady was going on. This isn't a normal practice of ours. So we're waiting and waiting for Airbnb to call back. I get a bit impatient and I send a message to the guest saying that because the person who booked the listing has not arrived and because we cannot reach the person on the listing, the apartment will need to be vacated immediately. Right away, I get a text back saying, "I'm sorry, that is my son. I didn't realize it would be a problem. I just spoke with Airbnb. Please call me." So I hang up and call the woman. Sure enough, it is 100% an older woman. We spoke for about 5 minutes. She's like, "I'm so sorry. I didn't realize it would be a problem for my son to check in before I got there. And I didn't know he was having someone else come by the place." I'm like, "It's fine. It just seems strange, and I was worried that someone had stolen your identity or hacked your account." And she was really nice, thanking me for looking out for her and saying that it was a good business practice. So I told her that they didn't have to vacate. But then I was like, "So are you still coming today?" She kind of hesitates and says, "Well, I've been held up a bit. I'm planning to come tonight, but it might be tomorrow morning." And I'm like, anyway, I get off the phone and I feel like I've majorly overreacted, even though certain things still aren't adding up. But I was convinced. My roommate said, "I'm still not 100% convinced." Anyhow, the guy comes and goes again from an Uber, and the woman left at some point, which we weren't there to see. Okay, so the next day, the guy leaves in an Uber and takes his bags with him. This is Monday morning. The woman never shows up, and we never see the guy again. But my roommate and I aren't home all the time, so we don't always know when people are coming and going. We weren't really sure if anyone was there or not. The checkout was supposed to be on Thursday. By Wednesday, we realized that certain lights had been on in the house for 2 days straight, and it was clear that no one had been coming or going. When we finally go over to clean on Thursday, it becomes clear that no one had been there since Monday. There is smelly food that has been left out on the table, tobacco all over the floor, and marijuana paraphernalia. There were a couple of clothing items left in the bedroom, so it was clear the guy had taken off in a hurry. We open the trash and find some interesting items. There is a car rental contract with a man's name and a signature on it from some other state. There is a blank check with a messed up signature, and there is a receipt from a gas station. The blank check address was in California, so we try searching Google, Facebook, and Instagram for both the name on the car rental contract and the name on the blank check to see if either are related to the guest that was coming and going. We don't find anything. So then I try to go to Google Maps and look up the address that is on the check. It's a store in California, but not the name of what's on the check. So I call the store and a nice woman answers. And I was like, "Is there someone by the name of," and I read the name on the check. She says, "That's the parent business name." I said, "Okay, this is going to seem like a strange call, but we run an Airbnb in Florida and we had someone show up that wasn't the person who booked. We ended up finding a blank check with your company name and address on it." She is like, "Oh my gosh, yes, I'm aware. There has been someone in Florida cashing checks from our company name. They have stolen over $50,000 from me. The police have been working with the bank to investigate." And I'm like, "Well, this is your lucky day. We have several photos, the VIN number from the woman's car, the phone number of the woman who booked the place for him, and here's my address. He took several Uber rides to and from the house, so maybe Uber can give the police more account information. We also have his hair, so if the police need to come collect a DNA sample, they can do that too." She was really blown away and was such a sweet woman. I felt awful that she had been dealing with such a thief. Anyway, I wish I had been wrong, but this is definitely a reminder that if something doesn't seem right, then follow your gut because there is probably something wrong. It doesn't give us license to treat people with disrespect, but there is nothing wrong with collecting information so that you're covered if something goes wrong. It was really just the fact that it was so clearly not the person on the booking. That was the red flag. Like I said in the beginning, there can be some crazy situations when you run an Airbnb or any business that involves other humans, but at the end of the day, it's still worth it to me. I have far more good situations than I do bad. And in the last scenario, I got to practice my detective skills. Honestly, I think being a detective would be a lot of fun. Okay, well, thanks for hanging on for the story. I hope you enjoyed it. Do me a favor, like this video, and let me know if you've ever had any crazy Airbnb stories. Don't forget to subscribe to join me every day where travel and adventure build financial freedom. I can't wait to see where your dreams will take you.